Good evening, my friends. Good evening. So I'm coming to you live with high-speed internet. And hopefully we haven't had any problems in a while, but I'm hoping we're not going to have any at all tonight. So another beautiful day out there. It's really feeling like spring. And a very busy day for me. Got a lot done. Got up early. Got a lot done. And took my son driving. My older son, he's getting there. We're getting there. Hopefully by the time he's got 6 months in, he'll be able to take his driving test. But I'm not too sure the DMV is going to be open up for that by that point. But we shall see. Stella's with us. She's already yelling at me. So let's start reading. We left off that John had gone to the principal and told him that his locker, and holy cow, Mr. Martin needs a haircut, huh? Yikes. That's all right. Better than wearing the hat. Mr. Harris, the principal, told him that he and Sam had manure put in his lockers. And Mr. Harris kind of blew it off because the newspaper was coming to do a big article today. So, let me just get my computer set here. Well, let's get reading. So there's no point in saying anything further, so I walk out of his office and I head to the bathroom to run cold water over my face and hands. I have to calm down. I don't want to have to wear the gloves again today. Maybe I should do nothing at all and just let it slide. Will that end it? And besides, what other choices do I have? I'm outmatched, and my only ally is a 100-pound sophomore who is with a penchant for the extraterrestrial. Maybe this isn't the whole truth. Maybe I have another ally in Sarah Hart. So I look down. My hands are fine. No glow. I walk out of the bathroom. The janitor is already sweeping the manure out of my locker, lifting out books and placing them in the trash. I walk past him and into the classroom and wait for the class to start. Excuse me. Rules of grammar are discussed. The main topic being the difference between a gerund and a verb, and why a gerund is not a verb. I pay closer attention than I did the day before, but as the end of the period nears, I start to get nervous about the next class. But not because I might see Mark, because Stella, I guess, needs to be in her place and read with us. But because I might see Sarah. Will she smile at me again today? I think it's the best to arrive before she does, so I can find my seat and I can watch her walk in. That way, I can see if she says hello to me first. Wow, he's a crafty young man. When the bell rings, I dash out of the class and I rush down the hall. I'm the first one to enter astronomy. The classroom fills and Sam sits beside me again. Just before the bell rings, Sarah and Mark enter together. Stella, stop. She's dressed in a white button-up shirt and black pants. She smiles at me before sitting down, and I smile back. Mark doesn't look my way at all. I can still smell the manure on my shoes. Or maybe the odor is coming from Sam's. He pulls a pamphlet from his bag with the title, They Walk Among Us, over the cover. It looks as though it was printed in somebody's basement. Sam flips to an article in the center, and he starts reading intently. I look at Sarah, 4 desks in front of me, and her hair is pulled back in a ponytail. I can see the nape of her slender neck. She crosses her legs and sits straight in her chair. I wish I were sitting beside her, that I could reach over and take her hand in mine. I wish it was 8th period already. I wonder if I'll be her partner in home ec again. Mrs. Burton begins lecturing. She's still on the topic of Saturn. Sam takes out a piece of paper and begins scribbling wildly, pausing at times to consult an article in the magazine that he has just opened. I look over and read the title. Excuse me. Entire Montana town abducted by aliens. Before last night, I would have never pondered such a theory, but Henry believes the Magadorians are plotting to take over Earth. And I must admit, even though the theory in Sam's publication is ludicrous, it's at its most basic level, there might be something there. I know for a fact that the Lorien have visited Earth many times over the life of this planet. We watched Earth develop, we watched it through the times of growth and abundance and when everything moved, and through the times of ice and snow when nothing did. We helped the humans. We taught them to make fire. We gave them tools and developed speech and language, which is why our language is so similar to the languages of Earth. Oh my goodness, guys, excuse me. And even though we never abducted humans, that doesn't mean it's never been done. I look at Sam. I've never met somebody with such a fascination in aliens to the point of reading and taking notes on conspiracy theories. Just then, the door opens and Mr. Harris sticks his head in with a big smile. Sorry to interrupt, Mrs. Burton. I'm going to have to snag Mark from you. The Gazette reporters are here to interview him for the paper. He says loudly enough so everyone in the class can hear. Mark stands, grabs his bag, and casually strolls out of the room. From the doorway, I see Mr. Harris pat him on the back. Then I look back at Sarah, wishing I could sit in the empty seat beside her. Fourth period is physical education. Sam is in my class. After changing, we sit beside each other on the gymnasium floor. He is wearing tennis shoes, shorts, and a t-shirt, 2 or 3 sizes too large. He looks like a stork, all knees and elbows, somewhat lanky, even though he's short. The gym teacher, Mr. Wallace, stands firmly in front of us, his feet shoulder-width apart, his hands clenched into fists on his hips. All right, guys, listen up. This is probably the last chance we'll get to work outdoors, so make it count. 1 mile run as hard as you can. Your times will be noted and saved for when we run the mile again in the spring, so run hard. The outside track is made of synthetic rubber. It circles around the football field, and beyond it are some woods that I imagine might lead to our house. But I'm not sure. The wind is cool, and goosebumps traverse the length of Sam's arms. He tries to rub them away. Have you run this before? I asked. Sam nods. We ran in the second week of class. What was your time? 9 minutes and 54 seconds. I look at him. I thought skinny kids are supposed to be fast. Shut up, he says. I run side by side with Sam towards the back of the crowd 4 laps. That is how many times I must circle the track to have run a mile. Halfway around, I begin to pull away from Sam, and I wonder how fast I could run a mile if I really tried. 2 minutes, maybe 1, maybe less. The exercise feels good, and without paying much attention, I run past the leader. Then I slow and feign exhaustion. When I do see a brown and white blur come dashing out of the bushes by the entrance of the grandstand and head towards me. My mind is playing tricks on me, I think. I look away and I keep running. I pass the teacher. He is holding a stopwatch. He yells toward words of encouragement, but he is looking behind me, away from the track. I follow his eyes. They are fixated on a brown and white blur. It is still coming straight for me, and all at once the images from the day before come rushing back. The Magadorian beasts. They were small ones, too, with teeth that glinted in the light like razor blades. Fast creatures intent on killing. I start sprinting. I ran halfway around the track in a dead sprint before I turned back around. There is nothing behind me. I've outrun it. 20 seconds have passed. Then I turn back around, and the thing is right in front of me. It must have cut across the field. I stop dead in my tracks, and the perspective corrects itself. It's Bernie Kosar. He's sitting in the middle of the track with his tongue dangling, tail wagging. Bernie Kosar, I yell. You scared the hell out of me. I resume running at a slow pace, and Bernie Kosar runs alongside me. I hope nobody noticed how fast I ran. Then I stop and I bend over as though I have cramps and can't catch my breath. I walk for a minute, then I jog a little. Before I finish the second lap, 2 people have passed me. Smith, what happened? You were dusting everyone, Mr. Wallace yells as I run by him. I breathe heavily for show. I have asthma, I say. He shakes his head in disapproval. And here I thought I had this year's Ohio State track champion in my class. I shrug and keep going, stopping every so often to walk. Bernie Kosar stays with me, sometimes walking, sometimes trotting. When I start the last lap, Sam catches up to me and we run together. His face is bright red. So what are you reading in astronomy today, I ask. An entire Montana town abducted by aliens? He grins at me. Yeah, that's the theory, he says, somewhat shyly as though embarrassed. Why would an entire town be abducted? Sam shrugs, and he doesn't answer. No, really? I ask. Do you really want to know? Of course. Well, the theory is that the government had been allowing alien abductions in exchange for technology. Really? What kind of technology? I ask. Like chips for supercomputers and formulas for more bombs and green technology, stuff like that. Green technology for live specimens? Weird. Why do aliens need to abduct humans? So they can study us. But why? I mean, what reason could they possibly have? So that when Armageddon comes, they'll know our weaknesses and be able to easily defeat us by exposing them. I'm kind of taken aback by his answer, but only because of the scenes still playing in my head from the night before. Remembering the weapons I saw the Magadorians use and the massive beasts. Like Stella, the massive beast here. Huh. Yeah. Am I bothering you? Sorry. Wouldn't it be easier for them if they already had bombs and technologies far superior to our own? Well, some people seem to think that they're hoping we'll kill ourselves first. Oh. I look at Sam and he's smiling at me, trying to decide whether I'm taking the conversation seriously. Why would they want us to kill ourselves first? What's their incentive? Because they're jealous. Jealous of us? Why? Because of our rugged good looks? Sam laughs. Something like that. I nod and we run in silence for a minute, and I can tell Sam is having a tough time, breathing heavily. How did you get interested in all this? He shrugs. Nah, it's just a hobby, he says, though I get the distinct feeling that he's keeping something from me. We finish the mile in 8 minutes, 59 seconds. Better than the last time Sam ran it. Bernie Kosar follows the class back to school. The others pet him, and we walk in, and he tries to come with us. I don't know how he knew where I was. Could he have memorized the way to school this morning on the ride in? The thought seems ridiculous. He stays at the door, and I walk to the locker with Sam. And the second he catches his breath, he rattles off a ton of other conspiracy theories, one right after another, most of which are laughable. I like him, and I find him amusing, but sometimes I wish he would just stop talking. When home ec begins, Sarah isn't in class. Mrs. Benshoff gives instructions for the first 10 minutes, and then we head to the kitchen. I enter the station alone, resigned to the fact that I'll be cooking alone today. And as soon as that thought occurs to me, Sarah walks in. Did I miss anything good, she asks. About 10 minutes of quality time with me, I say with a smile. Whoa! She laughs. I heard about your locker this morning. I'm sorry. You put manure in there, I ask. She laughs again. No, of course not. But I know they're picking on you because of me. They're just lucky I didn't use my superpowers and throw them into the next county. She playfully grabs my biceps. Right, these huge muscles, your superpowers. Boy, they are lucky. Our project for the day was making blueberry cupcakes. As we start mixing the batter, Sarah begins telling me about her history with Mark. They dated for 2 years, but the longer they were together, the more she drifted from her parents and her friends. She was Mark's girlfriend and nothing else. She knew she had started to change, to adopt some of his attitudes towards people, being mean and judgmental, thinking she was better than them. So, she also started drinking, and her grades slipped. At the end of the last school year, her parents sent her to live with her aunt in Colorado for the summer. When she got there, she started taking long hikes in the mountains, taking pictures of the scenery with her aunt's camera. She fell in love with photography and had the best summer ever, realizing there was far more to life than being a cheerleader and dating the quarterback of the football team. When she got home, she broke up with Mark and quit cheerleading and made a vow that she was going to be good and kind to everyone. Mark hasn't gotten over it. She says he still considers her his girlfriend and believes she's going to come back to him. She says the only thing she misses about him are his dogs, which she hung out with whenever she was at his house. I then tell her about Bernie Kosar and how he showed up at the front door unexpectedly after the first morning at school. We work as we talk. At one point, I reach into the oven without the oven mitts and I pull out the cupcake pan. She sees me do it and asks if I'm okay. And I pretend to be hurt, shake my hand as if it was burned, though I don't actually feel a thing. We go to the sink and Sarah runs lukewarm water to help the burn that isn't there. Then she sees my hands and I just shrug. As we're frosting the cupcakes, she asks about my phone and tells me she noticed there was one number in it. I tell her it's Henry's number, that I lost my old phone. Sorry. With all my contacts. I lost my old phone with all my contacts. She asks if I left a girlfriend behind where we moved, and I say no, and she smiles, which just about ruins me. Before class ends, she tells me about the upcoming Halloween festival in town, and she hopes to see me there, that maybe we can hang out. And I say, yeah, that would be great, and pretend to be cool, even though I'm flying inside. Mark's got a girlfriend. Or no, John. John's got a girlfriend now. Yeah. Chapter 11. We are cruising. I'm loving this. How are we doing on time? We're doing great on time. Images come to me. Oh, let me get a drink first. Are you enjoying the book, Stella? Ow. Images come to me at random times, usually when I least expect them. Sometimes they are small and fleeting. My grandmother holding a glass of water and opening her mouth to say something. But I never know the words because the images vanish as quickly as they come. Sometimes they are longer. They're more lifelike. My grandfather pushing me on a swing. I can feel the strength in his arms as he pushes me up. There are butterflies in the pit of my stomach as I race down. My laughter carries on the wind. Then the images are gone. Something I explicitly remember the images from the past, remember being part of them. But sometimes they are as new to me as though they never happened before. In the living room with Henry running the Laura crystal on each of my arms, my hands suspended over the flames, I see the following. I'm young, 3, maybe 4, running through our front yard of newly clipped grass. Beside me is an animal with a body like a dog, but with a coat like a tiger. His head is round, his body barrel-chested, atop short legs. Unlike any animal I've ever seen, he crouches, poised to leap at me. I can't stop laughing. Then he jumps and he tries to catch, and I try to catch him, but I'm too small and both of us fall in the grass. We wrestle. He is stronger than I. Then he jumps up in the air, and instead of falling back to the ground as I expect, he turns himself into a bird and he flies up around me, hovering just beyond my reach. He circles, then comes down, shoots between my legs, landing 20 feet away. He changes into an animal that looks like a monkey without a tail. He crouches low and he lunges at me. Just then a man comes up the walk. He's young, dressed in a silver and blue rubber suit that is tight to his body, the kind of suit that I've seen divers wear. He speaks to me in a language that I didn't understand. What's up? What are you looking at me for? He speaks to me in a language that I don't understand. He says the name Hadley, and he nods to the animal. Hadley runs over to him, and shape changes from the monkey into something larger, something bear-like with a lion's mane. Their heads are level, and the man scratches Hadley between the chin. Then my grandmother comes out of the house. He looks young. My grandfather comes out of the house, sorry, and he looks young, but I know that he must be at least 50. He shakes hands with the man. They speak, but I don't understand what they are saying. Then the man looks at me and he smiles, lifts his hand out, and all of a sudden, I'm off the ground and flying through the air. Hadley follows as a bird again. I'm in control of my body, but the man controls where I go. Moving his hand to the left and to the right, Hadley and I play in midair, him tickling me with his beak, me trying to grip onto him. And then my eyes snap open and the image is gone. Your grandfather can make himself invisible at will, I hear Henry say, and I close my eyes again. The crystals continue up my arms, spreading the fire repellent to the rest of my body. One of the rarest legacies there is, developing only in 1% of our people. And he was one of them. He could make himself whatever he was touching, he and whatever he was touching, completely disappear. There was one time he wanted to play a joke on me before I knew what his legacies were. You were 3 years old, and I had just started working with your family. I came to the house for the first time the day before, and as I came up to the hill for my second day, the house wasn't there. There was a driveway, a car, a tree, but no house. I thought I was losing my mind. I continued past it, and then when I knew I had gone too far, I turned back. And there, some distance away, was the house that I swore wasn't there before. So I started walking back. But when I came close enough, the house vanished again. I just stood there looking and at the spot where I knew it must be. But seeing only trees beyond it, so I walked on. Only on my third time did your grandfather make the house reappear for good. He couldn't stop laughing. We laughed about it all. We laughed about it that day for the next year and a half, all the way till the very end. When I open my eyes, I'm back on the battlefield. More explosions, fire, and death. Your grandfather was a good man, Henry says. He loved to make people laugh. He loved to tell jokes. And I don't think there was ever a time that I left your house without having a stomachache from laughing so hard. The sky has turned red. A tree rips through the air, thrown by a man in silver and blue. And the one I saw at the house. It takes out two of the Magadorians, and I want to cheer in victory. But what use is there in celebrating? No matter how many Magadorians I see killed, the outcome of that day will not change. The Larks will still be defeated, every last one of them killed. I will still be sent to Earth. I never once saw the man get angry. When everyone else lost their temper, when stress encompassed them, your grandfather stayed calm. It was usually then that he would bring out his best jokes. And just like that, everyone would be laughing again. The small beasts target the children. They are defenseless, holding sparkles in their hands from the celebration. This is how we are losing. Only a few of the Lorik are fighting the beasts. The rest are trying to save the children. Your grandmother was different. She was quiet and reserved and very intelligent. Your elders complemented each other that way. Your grandfather, the carefree one, your grandmother working behind the scenes so that everything went off as planned. High in the sky, I can still see the trail of blue smoke from the airship carrying us to Earth, carrying us nine and our keepers. Its presence unnerves the Magadorians. And then there was Julianne, my wife. Far off in the distance, there is an explosion. This one like the kind that comes from the liftoff of Earth's rockets. Another ship rises in the air, a trail of fire behind it. Slowly at first, then building up speed. I'm confused. Our ships didn't use fire for liftoff. They didn't use oil or gasoline. They emitted a small blue trail of smoke that came from the crystals used to power them. Never fire like this one. The second ship is slow and clumsy compared to the first, but it makes it, rising through the air, gaining speed. Henry never mentioned the second ship. Who was on it? Where is it going? The Magadorians shout and point at it. Again, it causes them anxiety, and for a brief moment, the Lorik surge. She had the greenest eyes I'd ever seen, bright green like emeralds, plus a heart as big as the planet itself, always helping others, constantly bringing in animals and keeping them as pets. I'll never know what it was she saw in me. The large beast is returned, the one with the red eyes and the enormous horns. Drool mixed with blood falls from razor sharp teeth, so long as they can't be contained within his mouth. The man in silver and blue is standing directly in front of it. He tries to lift the beast with his powers, and he gets it a few feet off the ground, but then struggles to lift no farther. The beast roars, shakes, and falls back to the ground. It forces ahead against the man's powers, but it can't break them. The man lifts it again. Sweat and blood glisten in the moonlight on his face. Then he doubles his hands over, and the beast crashes to its side. The ground shakes. Thunder and lightning fill the sky, but there's no rain to go with them. She was a late sleeper, and I always woke before she did. I would sit in the den and read the paper, make breakfast, go for a walk. Some mornings I would come back and she would still be sleeping. I was impatient, couldn't wait to start the day. She made me feel good just to be around her. I would go on in and try to rouse her. She would pull the covers over her head and growl at me. Almost every morning, almost the same thing. The beast flails, but the man is still in control. Other guard have joined in, every one of them still using powers on the mammoth beast. Fire and lightning raining down upon it. Streaks of lasers coming from all directions. Some guard are doing damage unseen. Some guard are doing damage unseen, standing away from it and holding their hands out in concentration. Then, high above the collective, a storm brews. A storm brews. One major cloud growing and glowing in an otherwise cloudless sky. Some sort of energy collecting within it. All guard are in on it, and all of them helping to create this cataclysmic haze. Then a final massive bolt of lightning drops down and hits the beast where it lies, and there it dies. What could I do? What could anyone do? In total, there were 19 of us on the ship. You 9 children and 9 Sea-Pan. Those by no means, chosen by no means other than where we happened to be that night. And the pilot who brought us here, we Sea-Pan, we couldn't fight. And what difference would it have made if we could? The Sea-Pan are bureaucrats, meant to keep the planet running, meant to teach, meant to train new guard, how to understand and manipulate their powers. We never meant to be fighters. We would have been ineffective. We would have died like the rest. All we could do is leave. Leave with you to live and to one day restore the glory, the most beautiful planet in all the universe. I close my eyes, and when I reopen them, the fight is ended. Smoke rises up from the ground among the dead and the dying. Trees broken, the forest burned. Nothing standing save a few Magadorians that have lived to tell the tale. The sun rising to the south and the pale glow growing in the barren land bathed in red. Mounds of bodies, not all of them intact, not all of them whole. One on top of one mound is a man in silver and blue, dead like the rest. There are no discernible marks on his body, but he is dead all the same. My eyes snap open and I can't breathe. My mouth is dry and parched. Here, Henry says. He helps me off the coffee table, guides me into the kitchen, and pulls a chair out for me. Tears are coming down my eyes, though I try to blink them back. Henry brings me a glass of water, and I drink every bit of it without stopping. I gave him the glass, and he refills it. I drop my head, still struggling to breathe, and I drink the second glass. Then, look at Henry. Why didn't you ever tell me about a second ship, I ask. What are you talking about? There was a second ship, I say. Where was the second ship? On Lorien, the day we left. The second ship took off after ours. Impossible, he says. Why is it impossible? Because the other ships were destroyed. I saw it with my own eyes. When the Magadorians landed, they took out our ports first. We traveled in the only ship that survived their offensive. It was a miracle that we made it off. I saw a second ship, I'm telling you. It was like the others, though it ran on fuel, a ball of fire following behind it. Henry watches me closely. He thinks hard, his brows crinkled. Are you sure, John? Yes. He leans back in his chair and he looks out the window. Bernie Kosar is on the ground staring up at both of us. It made it off Lorien, I say. I watched the whole way until it disappeared. That makes no sense, Henry says. I don't see how it could be possible. There was nothing left. There was a second ship. We sit through a long silence. Henry? Yes? What was on that ship? He fixes me with a stare. I don't know, he says. I truly don't know. How are we doing on time? We're doing all right. I'll read another page or two. That's Ty. Ty, can you shut off that light, buddy? Yeah. Thanks. So we sit in the living room, a fire in the hearth. Bernie Kosar is in my lap. An occasional pop from the log breaks the silence. On, I say, and I snap my fingers. My right hand illuminates. Not as brightly as I've seen it before, but close. In the short amount of time since Henry started coaching me, I've learned to control the glow. I can concentrate, making it wide, like the light in the house, like the light in the house, or narrow and focused, like a flashlight. My ability to manipulate it is coming more quickly than I expected. The left hand is still dimmer than the right, but it's catching up. I snap my fingers and I say on, just to show off. But I don't need to do either to control the light or to have it come on. It just happens from within, as effortlessly as twitching a finger or blinking an eye. When do you think the other legacies will develop, I ask? Henry looks up from the paper. Soon, he says, the next one should start within a month, whatever it is. You just have to keep a close watch. Not all the powers will be obvious like your hands. How long will it take for all of them to come? He shrugs. Sometimes all is complete within 2 months. Sometimes it takes up to a year. It varies from guard to guard, but however long it takes, your major legacy will be the last to develop. I close my eyes and I lean back against the couch. I think about my major legacy, the one that will allow me to fight. I'm not sure what I want it to be. Lasers, mind control, the ability to manipulate the weather I had seen a man in silver and blue do. Or do I want something darker, more sinister, like the ability to kill without touching? Yikes. I run my hand down Bernie Kosar's back, and I look over at Henry. He's wearing a nightcap and a pair of spectacles on the tip of his nose like a storybook rat. There you go. Why were you at the airfield that day, I ask. We were there for an air show. After it was over, we took a tour of some of the ships. Was that really the only reason? He turns back at me and he nods. He swallows hard and he makes me think that he's keeping something from me. Well, how was it decided that we would leave? I ask. I mean, surely a plan like that would have needed more than a few minutes' notice, right? We didn't take off until after 3 hours, 3 hours after the invasion started. Do you not remember any of it? Very little. We met your grandfather at the statue of Pittacus. He gave you to me and told me to get you to the airfield. That was our only chance. There was an underground compound beneath the airfield. He said there had always been a contingency plan in place in case something of the sort occurred. But it was never taken seriously because the threat of an attack seemed ludicrous, just like it would be here on Earth. If you were to tell any human now that there was the threat of an attack of aliens, well, they would just laugh at you. It was no different on Lorien. I ask him how he knew about the plan, and he doesn't answer. He just smiles, and he says goodbye. It makes sense that no one would really know about the plan, or only a few would. Excuse me. I nod. So just like that, you guys came up with a plan to come to Earth. Of course not. One of the planet's elders met us at the airfield. He's the one who cast the Loric charm that branded your ankles and tied you all together and gave you each an amulet. He said you were special children, blessed children, by which I assume he meant you were getting a chance to escape. We originally planned to take the ship up and wait out the invasion, wait for our people to fight back and win. But that never happened, he says, trailing off. Then he sighs. We stayed in orbit for a week. That was how long it took for the Magadorians to strip Lorien of everything. After it became clear there would be no going back, we set our course for Earth. Why didn't he cast a charm so that no one could be killed, regardless of numbers? There's only so much that can be done, John. What you are talking about is invincibility. It's not possible. I nod. The charm only does so much. If one of the Magadorians tries to kill us out of order, whatever damage it attempts is reversed and done to itself instead. If one had tried shooting me in the head with a bullet, it would have gone through his own head. But not anymore. Now if they catch me, I die. I'll finish up this page. I sit in silence for a moment, thinking about it all. The airfield, Lorien's lone remaining elder who cast the charm on us. Loridas, now dead. The elders were the first inhabitants of Lorien, those beings who made it what it was. There were 10 of them in the beginning, and they contained all legacies within them. So old, so long ago, that they seem more off a myth than anything based in reality. Aside from Loridus, no one else knew what had happened to the rest of them, or if they were dead. I try to remember what it was like orbiting the planet, waiting to see if we could go back, but I don't remember any of it. I can recall bits and pieces of the journey. The interior of the ship we traveled in was round and open aside from the 2 bathrooms that had doors. There were cots pushed to one side. The other side was devoted to exercise and games to keep us from getting too antsy. I can't remember what the others looked like. I can't remember the games we played. I remember being bored. Oh, excuse me. An entire year in a spacecraft. I'm sorry. I remember being bored. An entire year being in a spacecraft, being spent, or inside of a spacecraft, spent with 17 others. There was a stuffed animal I slept with at night, and though I'm sure the memory is wrong, I seem to recall an animal playing back with me. Henry? Oh, what? Okay, we have a half a page and we're done. I'm going to do it. I'm going to finish it up. I know we're running a little late. Yes, he says. I keep having images of a man in a silver and blue suit. I saw him at our house on the battlefield. He can control the weather, and then I saw him dead. Henry nods. Every time you travel back, it'll only be those scenes holding relevance to you. He was my father, wasn't he? Yes, he says. He wasn't supposed to come around much, and he did anyways. He was around a lot. I sigh. My father had fought valiantly, killing the beast and many of the soldiers, but in the end, it still wasn't enough. Do we really have a chance to win? What do you mean? We were defeated so easily. What hope is there for a different outcome if we're found? Even when we have all developed our powers and when we finally come together and are ready to fight, what hope do we have against things like those? Hope, he says. There's always hope, John. New developments have yet to present themselves. Not all the information is in. No, don't give up hope just yet. It's the last thing to go. When you have lost hope, you have lost everything. And when you think all is lost, when all is dire and bleak, there is always hope. Wow. That was a nice little section to end on. Boy, we're chapter 12, page 125. We are, my friends, we are cool. So we're averaging 25 pages a night. That's pretty darn good. So we could be done with this book in 12, 13 days. 12 days. That's not bad. And I counted today. We have 18 school days left. Sorry, we have 17 and a half. school days left. But we also have Sundays that we read. So we actually have so we've got quite a few days yet to read. So we might get through this book and then and start another one before the school year ends. And then we'll keep reading. We'll keep reading through the summer if you guys want. Okay, my friends. So today, there was it seemed as though today was kind of like Education Day with the governor. We do have hundreds of new cases still every day. Again, they're just not dropping at this point. The curve is flat, but it's not dropping down. So today is the 21st of May, and I told you guys that, I really thought right around this weekend was going to be kind of like it's been a week. Things have been opened in geographically most of the state now for a week. The Capital Region in Buffalo just opened Wednesday. Well, no, Buffalo opened Tuesday. The Capital Region opened Wednesday. So, maybe we'll see by Monday. But it's expected. They keep saying we are going to see cases go up. But it's the transmission rate that we don't want to see go above a certain point. So we'll see where it goes. One interesting thing, and this is not like I'm not working for the governor here, but Governor Cuomo, apparently, when you on your cell phone, they are calling. Oh, I gotta adjust in this chair here. They're calling people, and on your cell phone, it'll say New York State tracing. New York State contact tracing. And what people are doing is they're going, yep, no, click, and they're hanging up. No, this is actually a legit number, right? This is how we have to trace this disease. So they're having a little bit of a problem, I guess, with people just going, nope, I'm just hanging up on this. This doesn't look does not look good. It looks no bueno. But for the tracing to work, we need people to pick up and we need people to answer. So hopefully they will. I guess, they need to stop like robocalling. They need to actually call with actual people so that those actual people can leave messages and it's not just a computer that's doing all the calling. Though I don't know, I guess computers sometimes leave messages. So the big news today, like I said, a lot of talk about education. Summer school is happening across the state. I don't know if you guys want to get excited about that or not, but students will be going to summer school. However, all summer school in New York State is going to be distance learning. So there will be no in-school summer school. And remember that the rule applies that if you failed a Regents class and you go to summer school and pass it, you still do not have to take the Regents. You get the Regents credit. So if let's say you failed English 11 and you went to summer school and you got a 92 in summer school in English 11, well, then bam, you get English credit. If you get a 67 in English 11, you get credit because you passed it. The other thing is, within a few weeks, the New York State government is going to release protocols for schools in the fall. So, Superintendent Shine, bam, here you go. Here's what you have to do to reopen the school in the fall. So then they have until sometime in July to create a plan and then send it into the state for approval for reopening. So that's going to be interesting. The CDC has released guidelines that they feel schools should take in the fall. And again, I think I've told you guys this. I have not read them. However, what I've heard is, holy bleep, how the bleep are schools going to bleep and afford this? So obviously the plans that the CDC have released, I'm assuming is going to, and I really should dig them up, and I haven't read them completely. But I'm assuming it means that schools are going to need to provide a lot of PPE, masks, all the kind of good stuff, tons and tons of cleaning. And again, they're guidelines. The CDC is not saying schools have to do this. The Center for Disease Control has said this is our recommendations and the guidelines. So I'm assuming that Governor Cuomo is going to look at those guidelines and more than likely say, as governor, I'm going to require schools to do this, this, and this. And then from there, we have to make our reopening plan. Now, the other thing in regards to education, apparently schools are going to continue to serve meals over the summer. So, excuse me, is it every other day? I think you can get meals at Mohonasen. And I'm sorry, guys, if you know, when this all started, I signed up to volunteer to come in and distribute meals. And I have yet to this day been called to actually come in and help. But I did on our last staff day there, the 16th, I put in a ton of canned food for families, for the food bank, for families to come in. But I still haven't gotten a call to come in and help. So I really, I don't know what days it are that people can go in and get food, but that's going to continue through the summer. So our kitchen crew, our food service crew, is going to be working all summer doing what they've been doing. And I think it's if I remember correctly, it's about 400 families that pick up every day that we provide meals. That number seems to be sticking out in my head. I could be wrong on that. So the other thing that the governor talked about today is that, remember, we talked about there's this other illness that they know is now linked to the coronavirus, right? All of these kids, and it's now spread to, I think, 20 other states. It's all the kids either got sick from corona or they had it and they fought it off. So they had the antibodies. So obviously it is awakening something. The coronavirus is awakening something in these kids. And so those cases are continuing to grow at 100, and now it's 157 cases in New York. What else did we have today? Oh, yeah, this is kind of bad. So we're now at 39 million Americans are unemployed, and it hasn't peaked. So even though states are reopening, and even though New York State, and I'll tell you guys, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, around here, when I went for my walk today, when we went driving with my son, he's practicing his driving. there's a lot of construction happening. Even you can see here. We saw trees being taken down. We saw decks being built. We saw this happen and that. So people, these carpenters, painters, electricians, plumbers, right? They are out there and they are loving it. When I was mowing the lawn today, that's the other thing I did too. I was mowing the lawn and I kept seeing, Aaron's Electric and this electric company, and they're all coming in to the village, to the hardware store to get stuff. So, that's really good. That's picking up, but there still are more and more people that are losing their jobs. So, the economists are saying we may peak at anywhere from 20 to 25% unemployment. So, that's a lot more people losing money or losing their jobs. We're not that far away, but hopefully we can put an end to it. And I know today, Mitch McConnell, who is the majority leader, in the U.S. Senate, has said that he is not going to extend that I think he calls it the super unemployment benefit or the unemployment super benefit, where people get an extra $600 a week. He is saying that he is not going to extend that. So that doesn't mean that it's not going to get extended. He doesn't have the power to do that. But, he, as the majority leader of the Senate, if he doesn't like a bill, he doesn't have to call a vote. So we'll see what happens with that. But there was a lot of talk that they were going to push that. They were going to push that back to September, the end of September. Excuse me. I think right now it runs out in July, the end of July, and it's going to. And they were. I thought it was kind of a lock-in that it was going to go to September, and it kind of seems like a shoe-in too that there's going to be at least one more disbursement of stimulus checks, maybe two. We'll see. So, out in California, there are a lot of, people that are not, but there are a lot of people that, they want churches opened. So apparently there is a organization that of all the pastors out west, and 1,200 of them in California have said that starting at the end of this month, regardless of whether the governor opens up churches or not, they're opening up their doors and they're going to start letting parishioners come back in. So that's going to be interesting, right? That's going to be real interesting to see what happens there. A couple weeks away. I'm assuming that probably would mean, I think that's the 31st. Let me check my calendar, part of my phone. Yeah, May 31st. So I'm assuming that, I don't know if it would be the 31st and then June 7th, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's going to be June 7th. So we'll see. We shall see. But I think that if the governor doesn't lift that, you're going to see a lot of people getting arrested. Because remember, in California, it hasn't peaked yet, right? There's so many other states where it just has not peaked yet. We are lucky. I think New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and I'll be honest with you, I can't believe Massachusetts is full on opening up stuff. I didn't realize how much stuff Massachusetts is opening up. There's a game shop that I follow out there. I bought some stuff from a guy. I was looking for a game online, and he had it. And I called him up, and he shipped me the game. I talked to him for a while, and I liked him on Facebook, and you know, um, I followed him, and he's a really good guy. He does raffles every once in a while, and I PayPal him like $5 or something like that to get into the raffle, and just support a really good guy. And he's open, and not only is he open, he can start having store events. So, like, in Albany, there's a place called Zombie Planet, where every single night of the week there are games happening downstairs and there are games happening upstairs. There's D&D, there's Pokemon, there's Magic the Gathering, there's board games, there's little miniature games, there's Warhammer, there's BattleTech, there's there's Stella Bella. So that's a lot of people, but they still can't. That's the thing, is they can open up, but they can't have more than 50% occupancy in the store. Okay, Stella? All right. But still, I'm not sure that I would I don't know that I'm ready for that. I don't know. So today, Lori Laughlin, who was on Full House. She was an actress on Full House. Her and her husband, who was some kind of like fashion designer or something, had bribed people $500,000 to get her daughter into UCLA, or not UCLA, sorry, USC, the University of Southern California. And she got caught, and she pleaded not guilty. He pleaded not guilty, this, that, and the other. So now they have pleaded guilty to it because they knew they were caught. And instead of getting the 20 years and $250,000 fine, they're each getting 2 months. $20 years, but now they're only getting 2 months. How does that happen? Right? Yeah. How does that happen? What I'm assuming is that the mom, Lori Laughlin, and the husband probably rolled on people. They probably said, "Hey, listen, if you cut us a deal, we'll roll on all these other people that were a part of it." So I wonder if there's more of this to come. We'll see. What the heck is this? Oh, I don't know if you guys saw this movie. I think it was called The Butler. Yeah, The Butler. Forrest Whitaker was in it. And it's about this guy who was a butler in the White House for 11 presidents. And I believe he turned 92. He recently turned 92, but he was the butler for 11 consecutive presidents, and he apparently died of the coronavirus. He wasn't still working, but he was exposed, caught it, and he passed away. So I think I told you guys yesterday that Crossgates is open, and it is. And here are the stores that are currently open. Best Buy. And apparently, the article I read today on WNYT said Best Buy never closed. Best Buy is open. Dick's is open. Maggie McFly. What the heck is Maggie McFly? What is that? Is that Marty McFly's wife? World of Beer is open. And get this. This is the other store that is open. The Lego store. So you've got Best Buy, which I understand. You've got Dick's, which I understand. I don't even know what Maggie McFly is. If anybody out there knows, tell me. But you've got the world of beers and Legos. So I guess you could go get a tough Lego kit, go get a bunch of beer and get bombed, and then try to put the Lego kit together or something. I'm not too sure. If you're 21 or over. And here's, is this the last thing I got? Yeah, the last thing I got for you. And I thought this was pretty cool. Andy Serkis, excuse me, who played the Gollum on in the Lord of the Rings movie, and he also, if you saw the Marvel movies, he was Ulysses Claw. He was the guy who Ultron chops his arm off. He's like one of the arms dealers in the bad guys. He is this Friday going to read The Hobbit in its entirety. He says he thinks it's going to take about 12 hours for him to read it. And what he's doing is he's reading it for charity money, to raise money to go to charities in England for frontline workers. So it starts tomorrow at 5 a.m. and then it'll go 12 hours straight. So again, I thought that was pretty cool. We're doing okay on time. All right, so this day in history. There's a woman, a very important woman in American history, and her nickname was the Angel of the Battlefield. Her real name was Clara Barton. And Clara Barton, at a very young age, her brother, I think her brother was hurt in I think it was a farming accident, some sort of accident, and he couldn't walk, and he was lame for quite some time. And she had gone to school, I believe, to be a school teacher. Maybe she had even started her teaching career. And she ended up taking care of her brother and reading through books the best ways to care for him. And when the Civil War broke out, Clara Barton very much wanted to be a soldier and actually be in the war, and she wanted to do her part to help fight the South, but because she was a woman, she could not. And so she ended up becoming a nurse on the battlefields. And I believe the first battle she took part in or helped men in was the Battle of Antietam, which was fought in Antietam Creek in Sharpsburg, Maryland. And that was the single worst day in the Civil War. The most amount of men died on that day than any other day in the Civil War. And from there, she developed her career. She started I believe it was called the Army Corps of Nurses. She was the superintendent of it. And then she would travel over to Europe. And in 1877, she would start the American Red Cross. So the Red Cross, as it is today in our country, is begun by this woman, Clara Barton. The cat, I'm looking over here, the cat's like ready to jump on me, ready to spring like a lion on a hyena or a deer. Okay, so in 1901, I thought this was kind of cool. In the state of Connecticut, 1901, the state of Connecticut is the first state to create a law setting a speed limit. So they actually were the first state to set a law, and I don't know what that speed limit was in 1901. Maybe it was like 8 miles per hour or something like that. I don't really envision cars at that time going super fast, but anyway, 1901, Connecticut, thanks for setting the speed limit. On this day, well, we talked about this 2 days ago, I think. Charles Lindbergh, no, yesterday. Maybe I can tell you. Yes. So Charles Lindbergh flies for over a day straight, and he will land in Paris. He flies from New York City to Paris in the spirit of St. Louis. On this day in 1942, Sobibor becomes the first concentration camp to use large scale gassing to kill Jews. And this is the day, the anniversary of the day. The When the Germans invade the Soviet Union, Poland and the Soviet Union, they literally start to inherit millions of Jews. Most of the Jews are from Poland. Poland was densely populated with Jewish people. And they couldn't shoot them one by one. They needed a way to process them. So the gas chambers and the incineration ovens were not a means of torture. It was a means of efficiency. It was a means of expediency. And today marks the day that it all started. However, when the Germans were invading the Soviet Union, there were these different groups called the Einsatz group, and these different kind of thrusts into the Soviet Union. And behind them were people that were dedicated to dealing with the Jewish people in the Soviet Union. And they had created vans where what they did is they put the Jews in the vans, and then they redirected the gas from the exhaust into the vans, and they killed the Jews that way. So they knew that they needed to be efficient about it, and they had started that process in small doses. And when I traveled to Auschwitz, that was one of the things that just absolutely amazed me, was the size of it. The one camp, Birkenau, Auschwitz II, I think is what it is called, or Birkenau. You could apparently take 6 giant stadiums and line them up next to one another, and that's one of the camps, right? And they had these massive incinerators and massive gas chambers where they could process, thousands upon thousands of people a day. Unbelievable, right? Just absolutely unbelievable to think of death in that scale. And then we had talked about yesterday was the Freedom Riders had been attacked in Alabama. And on this day in 1961, the day after that attack, the governor of Alabama, because of all of the other things that come from it, he declares martial law in the state. So, things were just getting way out of control. And it is the governor's prerogative. The governor can do that as the executive of a state. Just like the president could declare martial law as the executive of the head of the executive branch, of our country. So anyways, my friends, good day, good reading. Tomorrow it's supposed to be, I'm going to check again. If I saw right, I think it's going to be 82. When I was outside earlier, I think it was 77. Isn't that great? What do we got for tomorrow? 79. I'll take it. 10% chance. Sunny with a 10% chance of rain. That's perfect, right? That's absolutely perfect. I do not think that we can beat that. So I hope you guys have some nice plans for Memorial Day weekend, and you're going to do some social distancing. we are really going to try. I think I told you guys last weekend I went to Lowe's and I tried to get stuff to build a fire pit, and I could not even get a cart to load all the crap. Well, I think I'm going to try to get to Lowe's when the place opens on Saturday morning and get the stuff that I need, because I really want to do this. I really want to get this built and have a nice fire this weekend. I love sitting around a fire and doing some relaxing. So, and it's certainly going to be a beautiful weekend to do it. Memorial Day, I don't know if I went over that. I think I did go over that last night. Memorial Day celebrations can happen. However, they have to be a gathering of less than 10 people. So, if you have any traditions for Memorial Day, or, you go to a parade or some kind of town function, well, they can happen, but they can't have more than 10 people at them. So we'll see how many of them actually happen. But anyways, guys, be good as always. Run that marathon. Don't sprint. We're getting there. Things are getting better. They are. We're getting closer. We'll be back to school before we know it. We will be. And, summertime is coming up anyways. Time to recharge the batteries. And I think that I'm really hoping that the fall brings about a new sense of appreciation for school and friends and, being together and socializing physically. And, we'll see, instead of just doing this. I mean, this is okay for now, but we don't want to do this for the rest of our lives. But anyways, guys, run the marathon, be good. I miss you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow night.